Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are, and welcome to NerdTube. We are talking Moon Knight, Season 1, Episode 2, Summon the Suit. Okay, I'm here with a cohort of Moon Knightians. First of all, I have the Womb Raider, or himself, Tomb Raider Gary. How you doing?
All right.
Excellent. Reverend Jake, how you doing?
Another day in paradise.
Yes. And finally, the Burrito of Cheetos, cousin. How you doing?
Doing good. As I said off stream, I am so happy to be here. I've been a Moon Knight fan my entire life.
Yes, he has. Honestly, he has. He knows more about Moon Knight than Kevin Feige. All
Oh
right.
yeah. Oh yeah, I know more
So
know more about Moon Knight than a lot of people. I'm
so
sorry.
this was I say this in the most politest terms. This was an interesting episode. Like we kind of progressed a little bit with the reveal of Mark Spector and trying to find out a little bit more about him in this particular episode through the eyes of Stephen Grant, of course. We got to know a little bit more about Arthur Harrow as well, the character played by Ethan Hawke. And we got to finally meet Layla too, Mark Spector's wife, apparently. And they're going through some divorces and shit like that as well, because apparently, uh, he's been gallivanting too much, so much so that they can't really be a couple anymore. So I like the way that this episode continues with the aftermath of what happened last week with the destruction of the toilets in the museum and a resolution has to come from that. Now, fortunately for the story wise, no charges are going to be pressed against Stephen Grant. But I did like the fact that they just didn't just ignore the fact that these toilets were absolutely destroyed. You know, there had to be an answer to all of that. But before we start talking about this particular episode in general, how are you finding the show so far and how are you finding this episode? I'll start with you, Reverend Jake.
Yeah, I'll have to say I'm eating my words. I predicted last time that we were going to see things from Mark Spector's side of it, and I don't think that didn't happen. But I'm still loving the show. I think that they're doing a really good twist on whether or not it's real. By keeping things invisible, it kind of adds that element to it where he's not quite sure if he's sane. Um, they kind of lean into it because it seems like Layla knows what's going on. But either way, it's a great show and a great time. And just can't wait for the next episode.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, mate. Totally agree with you. I would say I'm more on the side of things being real because of some of the circumstances that's happened, like like his wife seeing the monster when she threw liquid over it and stuff like that, and so that's where I'm on that particular side. But yeah, there could still be more to it than meets the eye. Cheeto, how are you finding the show so far?
I wasn't here last week, uh, but I'm very happy that this episode wasn't the Iron Fist episode 2 or 3 treatment where he's locked in the loony bin for the entire episode. And I know it's coming because I've seen it in the trailers where he's like hitting a. So I hate that, and I'm glad it wasn't this episode. And I know we'll get it eventually. And I please God don't let it be a whole episode of him in a loony bin. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I don't want that. I want what we've got in the past 2 weeks about Mark Spector and Stephen Grant kind of struggle and trying to struggling back and forth about what they're doing and what how they're balancing this. And he even makes reference in this episode to the walls are becoming the lines are becoming thinner between like Mark Spector and Stephen Grant. So I really like it. I really like the route they're going with this. I do like how in the first episode we knew stuff was happening because we had the cuts and fades, and then he would come back and he'd have blood on his hand and a gun in his hand and everything like that. I do like that they did that, but I'm really glad they leaned into the whole Moon Knight thing this episode. I didn't want it to be a bunch of that like the first couple episodes, so I'm really glad that they leaned into Moon Knight and even I call him the question mark Moon Knight, like from DC. The question mark
The Riddler Moon Knight.
Looks very studious and he's got the gloves on and everything.
He looks like the Riddler with a mask on his fucking face
Yeah,
in a white suit.
So I got more, but I'll continue let you guys continue on. But yeah, I'm glad they're progressing this the way they are, and I'm not looking forward to the Insane Asylum episode that they are definitely foreshadowing.
Before we get to Boss Man, I would like to say hope that as we only on a 6 episode arc, I feel that Insane Asylum could be just maybe half an episode of him being in the asylum. But anyways, and probably his partner or breaks him out or whatever, or that Egyptian god. Anyway, Boss Man, how you finding things so far, mate?
This is my favorite Marvel series so far, by quite some distance, because it's doing something new and interesting where we're almost getting like a psychopathic, not psychopathic, but like a psychotic, mental case where he's two different people in the same body, and they're like a split personality. Um, and it like when he's talking to himself in the mirror, I love when he does that because it's very hard to project that you're playing two different people.
Yeah, and he's not just playing. Um, I'm hoping that he will be playing more than just two different people as well. There's a good chance that we'll see some of the other personas which are renowned in the comic books to come into
And
play here. I mean, Disney could play it safe and just do two characters, though.
and also like Ethan Hawke, my god, is he terrifying? Like, because he doesn't really shout. Uh, I'm going to get to that comment in a minute. But I also love the fact that Ethan Hawke, he doesn't shout at it, but he's menacing as hell. Because Ethan Hawke's he's not really a towering presence because he's quite slim, but he's terrified in it. He speaks in a whisper, so you kind of have to lean in a bit, and he's like, you have to see that, and it's just like, oh my god, this is really scary, and and I never thought I'd say the word that Ethan Hawke was scary in my life, but he's leaning into being scary, and I just love the when he comes into that sort of shanty town to live into, when people start surrounding him and he runs off with his wife and stuff like that. That's my only criticism so far has been that why bring his wife in. I personally would have saved her until next season. I would have just preferred this to be we get to do some character development with Mark and Stephen to see what the different personalities, what sort of people are they, what makes them different, what makes them same, was there a reason for this the fracturing, all these sort of questions are coming into my head. I've not really had that many questions when it comes to Marvel properties. It's always been very straightforward. So I really love this. I really love the fact that it's asking me questions, but it's also, I've got to say, Oscar Isaac's performance, if he keeps this up, he's going to be in the running for an Emmy. Now, usually I'm very critical of Americans doing British accents, and I'm also very critical of British people doing American accents because usually they can't do it very well. But his British accent is pretty decent. I'm not saying it's brilliant because it's not supposed to be brilliant. It's supposed to be a bit ropey, but considering what he's supposed to be doing, I think he's into the accent, and he's actually into persona. He's actually doing it. And I mean, the thing is, there's not a hint of American swag in there at all. So I think kudos to that. And I think if he carries up with this, he's going to be in line for Emmys and all that sort of stuff. So far, real love in that.
It's the terminologies, boss man. Like he's saying stuff like wagwan and brav and in it and twit. I had to fucking correct Jesse Gender because she thought he said twat. He goes, no, he didn't say twat. He said twit. It's a different word. Yeah, and he's using those sort of British terms, and that just adds to the authenticity of Stephen Grant, so to speak.
But to answer Cheeto, no, it has nothing to do with the fact that it has anything to do with Egypt. It's because to be honest with you, Egypt is like the epitome of evil. But we won't go into that. And that's a Lynn Carroll joke. But anyway, that's what I have to say.
I'm liking the character of Arthur Harrow. I think for me, some of the most evilest, scariest, and like just horrible villains are the ones that smile and come across as very nicey. Like Ethan Hawke's character kind of reminds me of Dolores Umbridge from from Harry Potter. Do you know who Dolores Umbridge is? The lady who wore pink. And for
Yeah,
me,
I know.
Dolores Umbridge is the greatest villain in Harry Potter. For me, yes, I know you have obviously Voldemort being the big bad, but no one for me was worse than Dolores Umbridge. You know, she kind of reminds me of fucking Betsy. When I see Betsy DeVos, you know, that fucking politician under the Trump administration, I think of fucking Dolores Umbridge. You know what I mean? So yeah, nevertheless, but you can see that sort of similar style in Richard Harrow's character. Like he's a guy who smiles and he's coming across as very nicey, but you can tell he's also very fucking sinister as well at the same time. But his way of doing things is a little bit different because, as you can see, he feels like he's making a difference. He's turned a neighborhood into a good area. He's people are growing fruits and vegetables. I like to know where the fucking, considering I'm a London cab driver, I need to find a fucking place like this in London because that'll be fascinating for me. I just want to read this comment from Daniel Vaught before we start breaking down on this episode. Oscar's contract only covers Moon Knight, but Marvel has gone from long contract to short ones. So make of that what you will. Poor Cheeto.
I kept raising my hand, and it's okay.
I'm sorry, I missed it. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay actually, but it piggybacks off that comment that Daniel Vance said. So, I really feel like I love Oscar Isaac in this role, and you're right. It does bring, like, I'm obviously not a Londoner, but it does bring a authenticity to it. Like I feel like I'm talking to like you guys, like and I'm like, okay, this definitely feels like a authentic British experience with him. Like it's a personality of his. And the thing is like I love, like, my favorite character of the sequel trilogy of Star Wars, the one we should not speak of, is Poe Dameron, Oscar
He's
Isaac.
the best thing about it, man.
I know. I would, if they came out and said we're doing a Poe Dameron movie post sequel series, I'd be all for it. I'd be like, cool, just keep everybody else away from it and just do a Poe Dameron story. I'm all for it. I'm there. But yeah, like that's the only That's the only red flag I see, though, is that Oscar Isaac is only in Moon Knight for this. And I feel like if he does a super good job here, they're kind of shooting themselves in the foot, because then everyone, like Spider-Man, everyone's going to be clamoring for Oscar Isaac as Moon Knight, and you're going to get a Robert Downey Jr. situation where they got to pay some. And granted, he deserves money, but like Robert Downey Jr. got paid a lot of money, So like if they want to keep Oscar Isaac as this great character, and honestly, with the past 2 episodes, I could already see him being a Doctor Strange level character. Not like power wise, but like presence wise. Like I can already see that, him growing into that, like, Mark Spector and Moon Knight growing into that role, like where you're standing in the room of the Avengers and like there's Doctor Strange, there's Hulk, there's Thor, Moon Knight's just right there with him. And I feel like he could command that presence in that room. And I think the contract issue is going to be, as I said, I don't know. I'm afraid
it's a two-way street, Bobby. It's a two-way street, as far as I'm concerned, because like you want to be involved in an industry where you can be a reoccurring character, so you can constantly fucking get work. I mean, the Star Trek characters from the original series, they must be thanking their lucky stars that they're fucking part of that fucking saga. Because honestly, apart from William Shatner and a little bit of Leonard Nimoy, outside of Star Trek, none of those motherfuckers did shit. You know what I mean?
I agree.
So, and don't get me wrong, yes, he does command a lot of money, but where else is he going to get that sort of money? But within Disney, if you think about it,
Poe Dameron movie, that's where it is,
and that's Disney as well,
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, so there's a lot of boxes to tick to a degree. Probably Robert Downey Jr. is probably wishing he didn't fucking leave the Marvel Cinematic Universe, because honestly, Dr. Dolittle was a fucking flop. And there's not really much more coming from him recently. So we'll see how all that pans out. Regarding this particular episode, anyway, I want to start breaking it down a little bit. So the toilets are fucked. He lost his job. He's going to be getting a mental evaluation, and then he tries to find his this locker room, which apparently he's got all this shit in. How did you find all of this so far? Start with you, Jake. Up to the locker room. Did you like? I mean, how are you finding any of this episode so far?
Well, with that, real quick, I want to know what I wanted to throw in your last comments there, where you're talking about
Yeah.
how it feels like an authentic experience. I saw an interview, and apparently none of the exterior outside shots are in London. None of it's authentic. It's all done in I already forgot where, and I just looked it up, but I think Budapest. So it's all in Budapest. So that's why you don't recognize any of that. Anyway,
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. So we're gonna see like
Okay,
Black
Black
Widow and
Widow
Hawkeye
joke.
around there somewhere.
I knew you. I knew it, you fucking dad.
I mean, I'm all for ScarJo. So
hey, maybe because they do have a bunch of the repatriation stuff on some of the London buses. But anyways, I think they're doing a really good job with it. The beginning of it, I love him waking up and running. It invokes what I really loved of the first episode when they do the jump cuts while Mark is active. So they were only giving us Steven's point of view, and it invokes that as you jump between the two episodes. I think it's a good way to kind of bridge that gap. It was a lot of fun. I knew the cops were up to something the second they showed up, though.
Yeah, me too.
I
I knew
guess
they
we're
were
jumping
dodgy.
ahead there. Sorry. But yeah, as far as the beginning of it, I was quite surprised when they decided to go with him being with stuff being invisible. As I kind of mentioned earlier, I think that really leans into what is being dreaded by Cheeto, the inevitable hospital scene. I think the hospital scene can be done really good, though. I know, Cheeto, you're worried about it, but I don't know if you've got a chance to watch Legion. And Legion really played with the unreliable narrator where the main character is insane. It's Professor X's son. It was on FX in America here. I highly recommend if you have Hulu in America, I think it's on there. Give it a shot. And it really shows what can be done with that kind of am I crazy and you're in the loony bin hospital. That same interview I saw he said that Oscar Isaac said he was sold when he saw the script for episode 1 and the script for episode 5. Those were his two selling points on what brought him into it. So I think there's a high likelihood that we're going to see something absolutely crazy come out in episode 5 that could change a lot and lead to what Daniel Vance's second comment says that I thought immediately too, that Layla could be taking the mantle because the Oscars only got that one season. So I'm kind of getting way off track here with the beginning of the episode. Sorry, but to wrap up what I'm saying here, it could really be changing into something unique there, where maybe he actually does go insane, and they have to progress with a new character, and that could be a way to really bring in a new Moon Knight. And I don't want to get too far into this side of things, but it does allow them to bring in a new female hero. It also allows them to bring in a new ethnic hero. And they've said really that they want to represent Egypt in reality. So I know that the Layla character is supposed to be Egyptian. That's part of why she knows a bunch of the hieroglyphics, that she grew up around it. So that is supposed to be part of her character, and it gives them a chance to move forward on that note. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's not where they go with that. But anyways, beginning of the episode, leading up to it, it really foreshadows what they could do with later in the season, and I think it was a lot of fun. I still love the fact that security guard calls him Scotty, and I am waiting to find out that that's a third personality. What do you guys say, Cheeto? I see you raising your hand.
I agree with you, and I don't have any problem with Layla eventually taking over the role, but I want more than just this one season of Oscar Isaac as Moon Knight. You know what I mean? Like I really do. I want to see him. And now if like they do an Avengers movie and he's with all of them and they do all that hubbubaloo and he gets a chance to interact with all of them, and then after that, and like maybe another Moon Knight miniseries or even a movie if it's that popular, then they decide to go the Layla route. I'm completely fine with it. And I know episode 2, but I'm already clamoring for him to interact with all these Oscar Isaac's version of Moon Knight to talk with all these, or go with all these other all the other characters in the MCU. But I like Layla's character so far too. So it's not like I'm like, would I be like upset? No, but I'm more like, I feel like there's an opportunity missed there for Oscar Isaac to to interact with all of these MCU personalities and stuff like that. So anyway, sorry.
Yeah, I'll definitely feel that way if they don't delve far enough into his DID. Sorry, Zam.
No problem. I actually initially thought that Layla was a figment of his imagination initially, because when the cops came in and they couldn't find anyone else, obviously she's hiding outside. But that's how you could be imagining it, if you know what I mean. But then obviously, when she came into the room and held the scarab, which I like to also call the golden snitch, because it flew around like a like a little snitch, you know what I mean? But she held the scarab. It kind of squashed that rumors, but at the same time, they were in that room together and they couldn't see the monster, and then only she saw it when she threw the liquid over. So if there is if there is an imagination thing that goes down to that particular part, but once again, it does counter the fact that she held the scarab up in that room, and plus I think other people know about the creature as well, or like Ethan Hawke's character, he knows about. I keep thinking of the word Yahweh, but it's not Yahweh. What's the name of the Anubis? No, that's fucking the mummy.
Look, it's Clue.
Know about the creature as
What's the name of the character? Like the one with the long beak.
Clue.
Yeah, like his presence was felt by Ethan Hawke's character, and he even also admitted that he was an avatar as well. So I'm more on the realms of this being real than not, in my opinion. Like there's too many. Like it's gonna be really difficult for them to somehow, unless he was dreaming all along, which would be really, really fucking annoying, because that would be the ultimate of cop-outs. But yeah, and that would not be worthy of something to be in the Marvel universe, somebody having a fucking dream. I have a fucking dream. Why can't we put that in the fucking Marvel Cinematic Universe? You know what I mean? So, yeah, so there's so many things here. I like the fact that this Mark Spector is some sort of glorified super spy. He's got passports and money and shit. But what I'm also liking, and I'm jumping way ahead here, is now we're going to hopefully see things from Mark Spector's point of view, and he's going to be playing Rob, because Stephen Grant was frustrating me a little bit. You know what I mean? He was irritating. He's irritating as fuck. You know what I mean? So it's about time we see somebody who's, a bit more capable take the reins, and I'm looking forward to seeing a bit more Mark Spector. I'm not sure how you guys feel about that. Boss man, as you're back.
I kind of like this sort of like reluctant hero aspect that we have from him. That he's kind of like, we have this like reluctant guy who's just like down in his luck. He's a little bit nebbish. He's a little bit reclusive. Doesn't really have much confidence in himself. Then we have this Stephen Grant who's bold, who's heroic, he's married. He's all the thing that Stephen Grant wants
that's
to
Mark
be.
Spector.
Is it? Yeah, that's what I mean. That's what Mark Spector is. He's everything that Stephen Grant wants to be.
Yeah.
And I like that. I mean, like, because this whole thing is this whole thing a wish fulfillment dream, a waking delusion sort of thing. And I think they are building that. I know it's not, but I'm saying they're building in that aspect of it. But hear me out why I'm saying that, because the thing is,
he ended up in Switzerland, in Germany, in the first episode.
Yeah, but the thing is that but he thinks that's a dream, and the thing is that he keeps on thinking that this whole thing, because there's parts of this that are like sort of like waking nightmares. So because you look at it, like a lot of the things, because the way things are constructed. And I'm going to compare this to a film I really like. Like, if you watch Inception, there's bits of it where he's supposed to be in the real world, which are very nightmare-esque, where he's got a corridor that he kind of finds it hard to get through, but there's a guy who's right there who rescues him, so that's a bit very dreamlike. And there's things like here, like, as he's about to get killed, as well to get hurt by Ethan Hawke, his wife comes in with the very thing that he needs to distract him from getting hurt. So that's very wish fulfillment, dream-like. And the fact is, there's a nightmare of like a monster that you can't quite fix, and how does he beat it? By becoming like this superhero, which is very dream-like. So as I said, this whole thing is building to: is it a dream or is it reality? Now, my personal opinion is that it is reality, but we're left to question whether it is or not.
I don't mind questioning, but if they even remotely go down that route, I'm off board. I'm off board completely.
In my opinion, I don't think they're doing a good enough job to make you second guess. I thought they could have, but when you start putting certain things in perspective, like the fact that Richard Harrow said that he was an avatar, that he can feel the ghostly presence of that snout nose guy and all of that. Layla was able to see the monster when they were fighting it when she threw liquid on it. All these particular things. The toilets were destroyed. How can a mere man destroy toilets to that degree? You know what I mean? I just feel that it's more likely. It just doesn't feel like it's being very clever. Whether is it happening or is it not happening? And we've been down this road before in other forms of film and media, so I'm kind of a bit more used to it now. When you've seen stuff like fucking Fight Club and stuff like that, you get a better idea of how these things operate. So I'm not so sure it's going down that route. I mean, might make you want to think it is, but for me, I'm sold on the fact that this is really fucking happening. And the only way it could be fake if it's all a fucking dream, all of it, and that would be the biggest cop out of all fucking time. You know what I mean? I would hate that. I would genuinely hate that. I got some more to say, but I want to pass it on. Anything about regarding the episode, it's hard to break it down, really. There's but Reverend Jake, anything you want to say more regarding this episode?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I was actually surprised with is how much of a dick Khonshu is. We got a taste of it last episode when he's all calling him an idiot and whatnot. But really, just kind of some of the underhanded stuff, like, "Oh, I'm going to go after your wife next." It really, I didn't think that was what Khonshu was. And again, I've been a fan, for years on the periphery. I understood that he got his powers from Khonshu, that it was kind of a deal thing.
Me too. Yeah, I knew all that too. Yeah.
But I didn't realize that it was more of a stranglehold, like it seems to be. And I kind of wonder if that might play into, again, what I was saying before about it's switching at the end of the season. Maybe Layla actually does want to do it. But I hope not. And more into what you're saying, yeah, I think there's a lot of stuff that proves that this is real, and they are going to have to pull some sort of the entire season's a dream to cop it out. But at the same time, this is Marvel, and I think they can pull it off. Even if they do go that everything's been a dream, I bet you it'll be like, well, everything's been a dream, but it mattered because actually we hid the scarab inside of your dream world, and they need to pull the scarab out of the dream world in order to get it into reality, in order to do the resurrection. I mean, that's absolute craziness. But craziness that comics do. And Marvel is so genius at. So I'm on board for whatever.
You think they could pull something like that in 6 episodes? Yeah, I mean,
really? If the last episode is him waking up and then like he has a scarab in his hand or something like that, but I still wouldn't like it. I mean, I see where Rev is going, but I wouldn't like it. And Marvel has never shied away from doing things of consequence. You know what I mean? Like they've done a lot that's like, like some movies are like they tiptoe around doing certain things because, we can't make it look too outlandish. No, and Avengers are like, here's an alien invasion, guys. Like they didn't like mind wipe everybody or anything like that at the end of Avengers. It's like, no, we know aliens exist and there's aliens. Oh, and by the way, there's a bigger alien coming. And like now we are in this world and it's like nothing, like they do things of consequence in the MCU and you see all those ramifications. So I feel like that they are willing to have all this be real. But, the only thing it could be is like if it's like a stylistic choice done by like the director who's like, I just want all this to be a self-contained story and I want it to be all within his mental scape and yada yada. But at the same time, I'm like, that would still be the ultimate cop-out in my opinion.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, guys. I want to quickly read a couple of comments here. And I'll get back to you. The poem Stephen recites to Layla is called Les Séparés, apart. Yes, I do recall. And there is a connection to that. And that's why I feel Stephen is the creation, not the original, because he's just an amalgam. He's the polar opposite to Mark Spector, the polar fucking opposite from meat eater to vegan and shit like that. I'm surprised they didn't make him gay. Anyway, do not write. I'm sad and I want my light put out. Summers in your absence are as dark as a room. I have closed my arms again. They must do without.
I think that's what the poem said.
My heart is like is like knocking at a tomb. Do not write. Is that what how the poem goes?
Yeah.
If so, thank you very much, Daniel Vaughn. That's much appreciated.
Yeah, it's in French. Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, as I said, what I'm excited by is the fact that it's dealing with mental illness in a way that schizophrenia and stuff like that. Like there is a like, it deals with it in a very mature way. Like we don't know which one's the real personality. Like you guys are leaning more towards that marks the fracturing and that Steven's the original personality, the original psyche. But again, there's a lot because and a lot of the evidence seems to paint that way. The fact that he's the one who made the difference with Hong Kong-Shu, the fact that Steven is this real milk toast, has been disappeared and stuff like that. And sorry about that to you, but you know what I mean. But
I want my royalties for using my name.
But you know what I mean, like, I'm interested in this because again, it's a different sort of hero where he's a reluctant hero. He's not like the Hulk where he's embraced the anger. It's like no, his body's literally been violated to do this whole thing. So there's a lot of like think about body autonomy. Who are we really? A lot about consciousness, about personality. That I think is great.
Yeah, I do agree. The violation of the body is something I do feel sorry for regarding Stephen. But then again, I do think he is Douglas Quaid. He's somebody who's been created. Go on.
But he did. Kanju did mention in the episode that Mark Spector was on death's door when he found him. So I mean,
yeah, exactly. That's what I'm thinking.
He probably made a deal with Kanju or whatever to be my like Ghost Rider, be my avatar, and I will save your life. But this is like, you're right. This is like Wonder Woman 1984 levels of body violation. I mean, like.
Have you guys seen the new Batman movie?
I have not.
I have.
Yeah, I did.
Okay, I'm not going to try and give any spoilers away.
I've already read spoilers, Sam. You don't have to worry about me with that.
Okay, one of the things I do really like about that film, and I am one of the more bigger critics of that film because there were issues. I did have issues with it, but one of the things I genuinely fucking loved about the new Batman movie, that it was predominantly Batman and not Bruce Wayne we were watching. It was mainly the Batman character, and it made me start to realize a bit regarding this show that, are we going to just get like, oh look, Moon Knight, here he comes at the end of the fucking episode. It's Moon Knight, you know what I mean? He's like put on the costume now. I mean, I want big, fat fucking chunks of Moon Knight fucking kicking ass for 30 fucking minutes. Jumping on rooftops. It's going to be an
episode of Power Rangers. At the end, they got to call the Megazord in to finish it off.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, sorry, Daniel. I tried my best not to give any spoiler away, but that's what I'm saying regarding Batman. But I want to see lots and lots and lots of Moon Knight. All right, it's all good that we get Mark and fucking Steve and all that shit, but like when people start thinking this is going to be like the mummy version of Batman, the Marvel version of Batman. Well, I want to see this guy do that vigilante shit now. I want to, maybe we're expecting it to be too much like Batman. Who knows? But I want to see some more of Moon Knight and less of the other characters. I was really hoping to get big fat doses of fucking Moon Knight, and we're not getting enough. That's what I want now. I want a whole episode of him in the fucking costume, kicking fucking ass. Don't you guys want that shit?
I think we got a lot of that this episode. Especially if you include the Mr. Knight bit. They introduced Mr. Knight. Then we got Moon Knight back, and he impaled
that was
Jackal.
That was the last quarter of the episode, and even that moment with that Jackal was him like going, "Yeah, come and catch me if you can," just to fucking drop him onto that altar or that's whatever you want to call it, to get impaled. But I just don't feel we're getting enough. And I know it's only 2 episodes. We've got the very tail end of Moon Knight at the end of episode 1, and we've got maybe double the length of him in this particular episode. I just want some more fucking Moon Knight now. You know,
I
it's
don't
all
think you're
good
gonna
giving
get
us this mystery and stuff like that. But I want to see some ass kicking. I really
Yeah.
do. I want to see some genuine ass kicking.
I don't think you're going to get much more than we got in this episode. No, I think we'll get about this much every episode going forward, and maybe in our big finale we'll get a lot more of it. But Marvel, especially with these TV shows, is really trying to create character pieces. You know, Loki's not casting a lot of spells. It's a lot of talking and shuffling around an office. Winter Soldier is them hanging out. Or
Yeah, but we
Falcon
know these
Soldier is
characters
them hanging out
already.
at a boat.
Yeah, but we know these guys already. Yeah, we've already seen them in several movies. We know this was just an extension of people we already know. I know fuck all about Moon Knight, and I want to see him fucking going around kicking some ass. You know what I mean?
You just contradicted yourself, because if you want to know more about Moon Knight, you're going to get more about Moon Knight by the character-driven stuff from Mark Spector.
Okay. Let me rephrase myself. I want to see Moon Knight. Not Mark Spector, not fucking Stephen Grant. I want to see this guy in a costume, and I want to see him kicking some fucking ass the same way I've seen Winter Soldier do it, the same way I've seen Captain America do it. You know, in fat juicy segments when they're on screen. You know, yes, we get to know them, but we also get to see them being the badasses. I want to see that with Moon Knight. You know what I mean?
I don't know. I like I said, I feel like what we're getting is about as much as you're going to get. I think you're probably going to get at most a third of an episode with him as Moon Knight, except for, like I said, maybe a big set piece finale. You might get maybe half an episode, 3/4 of an episode. But I think before we settle into vigilante mode and doing stuff at the lower street level, like he's actually commonly known for, we've got to finish the 6-episode arc of who is he, what is he, spectacle, and then maybe season 2 they could settle into something like that.
Well, he's definitely not going to be fucking doing any of that Batman shit on the streets of Cairo, in my opinion. Like, they're still trying to deal with this whole investigation and mystery that they're dealing with, and that's how this episode ended. After, by the way, were you happy seeing Mr. Let's go on to Mr. Moon Knight, Mr. Knight. I was interested to see how this particular character was going to come into play. He's basically Stephen Grant's version of Moon Knight. Excuse me. And yeah, what did you think of that? I mean, yeah, immediately I had hints of the Riddler, in the white outfit. That's how I was looking at it. What about you guys, Rev?
So traditionally, Stephen Grant is a rich playboy billionaire, really more of the Bruce Wayne, to finish drawing the Batman comparison. And so Mr. Knight makes sense with him because he's got the suit on. It's really that persona of rich class, but still a superhero. So I was really also concerned how they're going to bring it in with this Stephen Knight being more of a traditional dweeb or whatever. And I hated it. I hated how they brought it into it. I was like, and then you still have this dorky guy like, yeah, I'm all super powered now. And I didn't like it. I think that looks really cool. I think that the character that I see in the poster behind me, wrong way. The character I see in the poster behind me seems confident and seems like someone who I think is badass. And I didn't really feel that watching him today. So I'm hoping that he will grow into that more over time if he does stay with the series. But again, I think either Mark goes completely insane and they laid the groundwork for that, or they get rid of him, so it probably doesn't matter. I don't know.
Okay, Gio, are you a big fan of Mr. Knight?
Actually, I was. As a person who knows everything about Moon Knight from the beginning of time, no, I do not. As somebody very fresh on the Moon Knight train, where episode 1 of this was really my first. Even the comic books I've read, I have not seen very much of Moon Knight. So, I mean, I've collected a lot of Spider-Man comic books and Thor and Captain America, Avengers, Fantastic Four. Moon Knight's not in a lot of them. Like, I think he may have been in like 1 or 2 Spider-Man ones that I've seen, but not enough to give me a real basis on him. And I get where Rev's coming from, where he's like, okay, I know the comic, I know the source material, and this is kind of frustrates me. Honestly, I mean, I liked it. I like that this is kind of like the stopgap between Mark Spector and Stephen Grant, where he like has kind of the powers, but he's still kind of a dweeb. And I liked it, but as I said, I can understand Rev, because I mean, Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man is like, I hated him. I hated him with every fiber of my being, because that's not my Peter Parker. So
I think I kind of just feel the same way that Zam was talking about in general in the whole episode. If they're going to have Mr. Knight, I want to see Mr. Knight be a badass. I want to see him kicking people's ass. I want to see Mr. Knight actually do something other than a joke. And I think that if they build him there, sure, but as he is right now.
Well, I mean, the only thing I'll give Stephen a pass for on this is that was his first time being in control of the Moon Knight entity, so to speak. So maybe he's still getting to grips with it. I just want to quickly read a couple of these comments. I wonder if Mortal Kombat didn't take the Jackal to the spike on. Moon Knight. I know, I was taking the piss. Jackal to the spike on purpose. Yeah, I think he did. Kind of. He was definitely luring him away. Initially, I think he was luring him away from all those people because they're heroes. It was a church holy ground. I wonder if he didn't need that to actually kill the Jackal. Well, if you want to get into historical biblical senses, we're talking about something which predates the Christian religion. So I'm not so sure. But
yeah, I feel like there's separate religions too.
Yeah. I felt like Stephen was growing in power when he and Mark were talking about it. The mirror Stephen is stuck in the beginning, repairing before Mark breaks the hell out of it. It'll be interesting to see how they come to a conclusion, because for me, that's one thing that is a massive issue. Like, two people sharing the same body, and maybe more than two people. It's going to be interesting to see how that pans out. But we did finally get. No problem. After Mark begging Stephen to let him take control of the body, because obviously when it comes to dealing with dangerous situations, Mark knows what the fuck he's doing. Stephen finally gives in, especially when he realizes that innocent people could be hurt. And then we get the Moon Knight that we all recognize. And I like the way he took the Moonerangs out of his chest, and he still had the Moonerang there, which was pretty cool. Didn't seem really get to throw it that much, though. He takes him out and does nothing with it. He goes, yeah, come and catch me if you can, motherfucker. And then we get that little chase across the streets. And that was just my issue, is like, a lack of Moon Knight action scenes. It wasn't much. More Mr. Knight than we got of Moon Knight, actually. So I'm just hoping we get a little bit more of Moon Knight in the upcoming episodes. So with the ending of this episode now set in Egypt, in Cairo to be more precise, and it looks like Mark Spector will be taking a front row seat, as Stephen Grant is now going to be the man in the mirror, and he says it's horrible in there as well. I mean, God, I can't even fathom what it must be like to be in that sort of position. How do you think next week's episode is going to pan out, and what's going to happen? I'll start with you, Cheeto.
I really feel like that. Next week's episode is going to be like, we've got a full episode of Stephen Grant. We got a merger episode between Stephen Grant and Mark Spector, and then this next episode I feel like is going to be primarily Mark Spector as Moon Knight, like, in Cairo and everything. I mean, I don't think he's going to be in the Moon Knight outfit the whole time, but I do agree with you, Zay. Like, listening to your guys' little debate about this, I lean more towards Zam, because why have a superhero, like a fancy superhero outfit, if you're not going to use it? I understand that they're trying to build a character and they're trying to do all this, that, and the other, but at the same time, I'm more of the thought that you need to have a balance. You need to have a really cool superhero presence as well as the character development. You can't just go in there like, here's all the character, and then we Power Rangers this at the end with the Megazord, and then Moon Knight comes in and kicks ass. Like, I would even be happy with like a fight sequence towards the beginning, and then like a fight, like a longer fight, fight or whatever towards the end. But I mean, this once an episode for just a couple minutes thing is just not, in my opinion, is not good enough. And I'm hoping that in the next episode, they will rectify that, since it seems like Mark is probably going to be more in control than Steven. So hopefully this is like, I mean, next week is the mid-season. Like, it's three of 6. So, I mean, hopefully, by the end of next episode, hopefully we get more Moon Knight or even Mr. Knight. Honestly, I know you guys, or I know that at least Rev, you're not exactly a fan of Mr. Knight, but I want more superheroing. Why are we watching? Like, if I wanted a character study, then I'd watch the oh god, I don't even remember the name of it. The award show for like the indie films, Sundance. I'd watch Sundance. You know, like I want superheroes in my superhero show. So I'm not saying that what they're doing is bad because I really am enjoying the show, but I do lean a little bit more towards Zam when it's like I want to see my superheroing. So
Sure. You know, and to counter on that, I really think that if you combine the Mr. Knight time with the Moon Knight time and look at it as just the suit is active, whatever form it takes. I think that's about the runtime that we're going to get of suit time every series. And I think we did get like 10 minutes of suit time. Now, I do agree. I hope it's not at the end of every episode in the Megazord fashion. I would like to see maybe it in the beginning or in the middle of an episode or two different scenes of it even. But I mean, I don't think that we're going to get, you know, Mark Spector or sorry, the Moon Knight in costume brooding on a rooftop looking for crime. I don't think we're going to get that.
And I agree with you there. I do agree with you there, where I consider the Mr. Knight and Moon Knight kind of one and the same. Like if I get a decent amount of both of them, I'm okay. But I just So
and I think we did get a decent amount of both of them today. You know, again for it being episode 2. Episode 1, I liked the little tease at the end. Episode 2, no, we actually got some with some explanation into it. And I think that allows us in episodes 3 and 4 to just kind of open up and use it without having to explain what's going on every 30 seconds or have them talk to each other every 30 seconds. I think that'll fix it. But yeah, I think as far as getting more down to the beat level of regular, he's doing vigilante type stuff. I don't think we're going to get that, especially if we don't get the third personality who is named Jake, the best name ever. So, you know, eventually we have to get him because his name is Jake. But I also worry they might rename him to Scotty. Because side note, the fact that security guard.
Yeah, I was thinking that.
Scotty, I think there's a third Scotty personality, and that's why he's doing it.
Now, me being a Moon Knight aficionado, Rev, I'm going to test your skills here. What's the whole Jake thing? I mean, which personality is Jake?
So Jake,
if
Lockley,
you know.
So yeah. So those of you guys who aren't in the know, like Cheeto, you know, we'll fill you in. This story is traditionally in New York, and so Jake Lockley is a cab driver. Originally, it was just something that he would do to try to get information on low-level crime. People kind of talk to cab drivers, so that was just an information source.
Yep, I can relate.
Yeah, right. So that was his original thing, but then it kind of full-blown turned into its own personality. As far as I'm aware, it does not have its own Moon Knight type costume. But
you want to see the Moon Knight like cab driver.
Right.
Driver. Anytime they get in a car to drive, that Moon Knight Jake comes out.
I always looked at it as like that. This was never necessarily a split personality thing. It's just him playing different roles. Mark Spector, he's a playboy billionaire, then he's a cab driver, and it's all about finding information. And that's how I looked at it. But maybe he's still Mark Spector, but he plays this cab driver called Jake because, you know, he wants to like extract information out of people and stuff like that. It's not necessarily a personality split. But I just want to quickly read Daniel Vance's comment here. Arthur kills the man who found the scarab without using the cane and scales. He judged him unworthy based on what he saw. Yeah, and by the way, that does lead. You're right about that. I never really thought about that. I guess, but he's got that power tattoo, hasn't he? Maybe that's all he needs is tattoo power, and that's all good enough. But on top of that, he has the scarab. He has the golden snitch. And this is going to lead him to the tomb of where the other Egyptian goddess is. And this is like this is, as far as he's concerned, this is the righteous goddess because she knows evil and she'll stop evil from ever happening. So we're getting a bit of Minority Report thing going on here as well. Sorry, boss man. So that's going to play its part. But I am starting to feel a bit of Shang-Chi vibes, a little bit, like where, they're leading. This thing's going to lead them to what they feel is like in Shang-Chi's dad's case was his wife, but in even Hawk's case is this god, but this god might turn out to be a devil, so to speak, and fuck things up and not be a good thing.
And also
But,
Dormammu. Like I got very big Dormammu vibes from Doctor Strange
Yes.
as well.
Well, yeah, all of that. But I just feel that it's going to be them trying to, that's why they're in Egypt now, obviously, because that's where this tomb probably is. I'm thinking we're going to get some Indiana Jones vibes in the next episode as well. Going through lost tombs and catacombs and shit like that. Maybe some booby traps. I wouldn't mind that but I'm a huge Indiana Jones fan, so I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind some of that at all. So it'll be interesting to see regarding that. Boss man, what do you think is going to happen next week?
They're going to go and see one of those teams. They're going to do some team raiding. And then they're going to find Apocalypse. No, I'm joking. They'll probably... do you know what? They probably will... I mean, I'm not familiar with the source material, so I don't know whether, he's... This is like a site he's been before, and he's kind of comes back to him. From those showed, I think he has. So maybe it's like one of those things like muscle memory, and he goes through and he kind of knows where traps are. But I kind of want to see him stumble a little bit, where he doesn't get the what's the word, everything quite right, and he's still a bit in a haze and stuff like that. And Mark still wants to come out. It's like saying, what is that doing there? And stuff like that, and kind of thing. So I think we're going to see that, and I'm hoping that we kind of see things from Matt's perspective now. That we see what happened in Switzerland, maybe what happened in this. What led him to find this thing. What does this thing do? Because again, all we know is that it leads to the tomb of this god or whatever it is. That's all we know.
Yeah.
We don't know what's up.
I just want to quickly respond to Ginger here. Sorry, 1 second. I love the episode, but here we go with Strong Woman. In the comics, he had a GF that get killed, so hopefully that's what happened. I mean, come on, Ginger. Compared to Stephen Grant, everyone's a fucking strong person. Stephen Grant is the ultimate fucking whip.
Stephen Grant.
Yeah, exactly.
I hope to God they don't kill her off, because that'll be another woman in refrigerator shit.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want to kill it off.
Well,
man.
and this is what I responded, which is what I feel, which we talked about earlier, was pretty much Layla is the escape hatch if Isaac doesn't sign a new contract. So
yeah, well, she'd be the new Avatar, so to speak.
Yeah.
So yeah. But yeah, okay. So that's pretty much it then, guys. On to episode 3, the mid-season episode. I'm glad we're already jumping to a different location though. 2 episodes in London, that was great. By the way, don't forget there's that golden statue, man. I do feel he's going to play a part. I guarantee we'll see him playing a golden fucking statue, dude. Maybe in the Egyptian version, in somewhere on the streets of Cairo. And then Stephen Grant's going to be thinking, or even Mark Spector's going to be thinking, what the fuck? You know what I mean? I do feel he's an informant of some sort, maybe to Mark Spector. Sorry.
Do you want the comic book lowdown?
No. Please no. I just want to be. I mean, don't get me wrong. It could what we see with the golden statue guy. It could just be an Easter egg. They might not play on that, or they could, but I'm hoping that they do in some capacity. So I do feel he's going to play a part at some point. We'll see what happens. There's that name on the phone, the other one which wasn't Lila as well. I'm sure that dude, was it Gaspard or what was his name? Gillard or Champ? Yeah, okay. And obviously there's the actor who died recently, who's we know is going to be in this series too. The French actor who used to be a model.
He could be he's contacted in Egypt. So what I'm hoping that we get here is that I hope we get more where he has to maybe relinquish control to Mark. I said to blend in with the rabble, so to keep more of a low key, because basically Mark's is perfect sort of like cover because nobody's going to look at him. Whereas if he's himself, maybe he gets more noticed, that sort of thing. That he's more of a presence, that sort of thing. Because, what as I said, again, what I'm hoping with this series is that we get that psychological, jarring of personalities, and again, that's what I'm really hoping for with this next series is that we see everything from Steven's point of view. But I don't know.
I think, by the way, regarding the episode where he's in the asylum, that's going to be episode 4 or 5.
God, I hope not. It better not be the penultimate episode. I hope not.
I think it's going to be that. So
I agree.
I mean, yeah, exactly. So anyways, so anything more to say, fellas, regarding this, Reverend Jake?
Yeah, I was actually going to throw in. So last episode, I called out the weirdness of the little girl who asked if it hurt when he was rejected from the Egyptian heaven. 2 things I thought in this episode stood out equally as odd. The one cop was really into that little pyramid, so I wonder if that might be an Easter egg or something that plays out later on. He's like, "Where did you get this?" He's like, "A gift shop." Like it's no big deal to Grant, but that guy thought it was something important. So I think that might play into it. The other cool comment that I thought was right before the old guy, the guy who picks up the scarab, and Arthur Harrow comes out and he says he won't give it to Arthur. He's like, "I can't give you this. I would give you anything, but I can't give you this." And so we have this person who is theoretically already a follower of Arthur Harrow, picks up the item that Arthur wants and immediately knows he can't give it to him. I think that's unique in the dialogue in the episode. And I think that these are little clues that are going to play off later because they are very deliberate lines. And they don't really make sense in the context of the show, at least in my opinion. So these are the things that I'm going to keep watching for and see what they do with. There's a lot I could say about the Goldman, but I'll let that go, and Duchamp as well. That's stuff that'll come into play later, I'm sure. I think that's really kind of about it for me for right now.
I think we're going to see Duchamp next episode. I do. I think he's going to meet him in episode 3. But Mark Spector knows who he is, so I think they're going to meet.
Yeah, I think
he's going to be the Salah of the show.
Episode.
Yeah, Cheeto.
I'm gonna out myself here and say that until right before he moved, I did not realize that the gold guy was actually like a statue person, not a statue. Not gonna lie.
Are you serious?
I am dead serious. I thought it was an actual statue.
God. Oh my god!
Listen, we don't have those over here in America. Okay, we don't have people that can sit still for more than.
Yeah, in cities you do, but if you're from,
America is not New York City, so.
And neither is London's not England, and I realized that when I voted for Brexit.
Manchester is
against Brexit. That is against Brexit. Because everyone just to go on a tangent here. When I voted against Brexit, I voted to stay. I think, everyone in London is voting to stay. And then I realized London isn't fucking England. Anyways, enough of that. All right, so on to episode 3. Tomorrow we are talking Star Trek episode 6.
I believe
of Picard.
So. Yep.
Of Picard.
Also, we can also talk a little bit about the announcement that was given yesterday about all the TNG cast is returning for Picard season 3, which I've got thoughts on, and I'll save those for tomorrow.
Why the fuck are they telling us all that? So it's just ridiculous. Like
they're hyping it.
Fucking hell.
I think Picard season 3 has already been filmed. So they did 2 and 3. They did 2 and 3 back to back. So that's why I think they're announcing it, because word would have gotten out eventually anyway. So,
and on Friday we will be doing our wrestling roundtable, where we'll be talking about the WrestleMania, 2 nights of WrestleMania, which actually was surprisingly pretty good. I was shocked how good it was. As somebody who doesn't watch wrestling anymore, I actually had a good time, especially the Johnny Knoxville versus Sami Zayn match. That match had me in fucking stitches. And obviously we'll also be talking about Raw and SmackDown as well, and maybe a bit of AEW too. I'm sure you'll be there for that one, boss man.
Oh yeah.
Okay. All right. So keep an eye out for that, as well as other fan film reactions, as well as other stuff. I heard, by the way, Young Rock season 2 is out. By the way, I would recommend watching Young Rock season 1 if you guys haven't seen it. The season 2's out. I think it's 3 episodes in, so I need to catch up with that. Yeah. So all right. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Oh, wonderful. Thank you very much for joining us on this review debate. We'll see you guys tomorrow for Star Trek if you're into that, and don't forget to like, share, subscribe to NerdTube, the greatest YouTube channel you never heard of. Take care. Bye bye.